Hi guys, Mrs. G here. We are going to try something a little different today. I'm going to walk through the notes, and so you guys are going to watch this and kind of walk through it with me. If you have questions, you can be asking questions while you're actually in class, but we're just going to try something different. So today we are going to focus on writing equations. Okay, we've been finding slope, we've been finding the y-intercept. Today we're going to kind of put that together and practice writing what this is going to look like. So remember, n, guys, is our slope, okay? And slope is our rise over a run. So our slope is n. Hey, my slope here is going to be 2. Or we keep talking about how slope's always a fraction. You could write as 2 over 1, okay? So if I'm writing it, you guys should also be writing it. So 2 over 1, every time we talk about slope, we talk about slopes going up and then we're going over, right? So 2 over 1 means that I went up 2 because it's positive. And then I went to the right 1 also because this is positive. Okay, I went up 2 and I went over 1. My y-intercept is b. Well, b is the number coming after the x. So b is going to be 3. Okay, if you want to, you can put your plus sign with it. And this is where it's crossing the y-axis. Okay, y-intercept, y-axis. So it crosses the y-axis at 3. Again, if I'm writing it, it should be going down on your paper. We keep talking about how to write out our answers, okay, and being specific. So describe this line. Is it going to be positive, negative, horizontal, vertical? Since we have a positive slope, we know that it's going to, if I have a point here, I go up 2 and I went over 1. My line's going to look something like this. Okay, this is about how steep it's going to be, but we're going to end up having a positive line. It should be going up. Okay, if I look at the next one, so word can be kind of weird in how it does fractions. If it makes you feel better, guys, this is how that equation is being written. Okay, so my slope n, here's n, here's b. M is always attached to the x. So my slope is going to be 1/4. Which means if we were drawing this out or if we were counting this out, I went up 1 and I went to the right 4. My y-intercept b is going to be 3. Okay, that's the number that's being added or subtracted on after the slope. So y-intercept b, that's always where it's crossing the y-axis. So that means my graph, it crossed the y-axis at 3. Okay, if you need a picture, this part you do not have to write, but if you need a picture, so 1, 2, 3, my line crossed here. Okay, it crossed when y was equal to 3. Describe the line. So if here's my point, I went up 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 over 4 to the right. So I have a positive line, but look, this line's not as steep as this one is because it's 1 over 4 versus 2. So it's still positive, but something to think about. We said slope deals with steepness. 1/4 is not as steep as 2 is. Okay, look how this one's going up faster and this one's going up not as fast. Make sure, guys, anytime that you need to pause the video, okay, pause the video. Also, if you have questions, make sure you're asking questions. So we've got one more just kind of talking through what slope y-intercept looks like. So again, if you want this rewritten, and normally in class we're writing it as that fraction. Word just doesn't always let you do that. So same thing here. Slope is always attached to the x. B is always by itself. So my slope keep it together. Okay, we keep saying slope is a fraction. Keep those numbers together. My slope is negative 2/3. This means that I had to go down 2 and to the right 3. We're being specific. Use those details. I think Zishan did a nice job using details today in class. Use those details. Tell me that we're going down because it's negative. Okay, y-intercept, positive 3. If you want to put that plus 3, you can, or you can just leave it as a 3. Okay. Again, y-intercept, we keep hitting it, but want to make sure that we know it. That's where it crosses the y-axis, and we're going to be specific. So it's still crossing the y-axis at 3. I have no idea why all the y-intercepts are the same. Sorry. Describe the line. So if we did a quick sketch, here's my first point. So we said I went down 2 and 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. This is what my line looks like. We know the line has to go down from left to right because it has that negative sign. Notice this one is not as steep as our slope of 2 over here. Okay, just something to keep in mind. Slope, steepness, some are going to be a lot steeper than others, and some will have no steepness, and that's when we have our slope of 0. So we're going to kind of put this together, and we're going to practice writing equations today. We're going to practice finding slope. We're going to practice finding y-intercept, just like what we've been doing in class, and we're going to put it all together to write an equation. So if you take a look at this first one, okay, I think you guys have a point here on your graph, and you have a point here on your graph. Okay, so on your paper, we know how to find slope. So let's put in m equals, and let's just find slope. We've been doing this. Draw that slope triangle. Okay, draw that slope triangle, and now we're just going to count out our boxes. So I go up 1, 2 boxes. That's going to be a positive 2. Okay, make sure it's going down on your paper. From here, I went over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes to the right. That's also going to be positive. So don't get overwhelmed by this. Start with what you know. We know how to find slope. My slope is 2 numbers, positive 2 over positive 6. We can divide both of these by 2. Okay, we haven't talked about simplifying too much, but some of you have been. So if you haven't, we can divide both of these by 2 to end up with 1/3. If you leave your answer as 2 over 6, that's fine. Go with it. Okay, so here's my slope. So I already know y equals mx plus b. We just found the slope to be 1/3. Hey, my line's going up. This should be positive. Okay, so I've got a positive slope. I'm going to put an x after my slope. Let's figure out what b is. Okay, so where is this blue line crossing the y-axis? Right here at -2. That's where x is equal to 0. That's where we're crossing the y-axis. My equation, y equals 1/3 x minus 2. If there's something with that you're not sure of, please ask. Okay, pause the video, ask me. If you've got this, you're good. Let's take a look at another one. So we've got a point here, and we have a point here. Just ignore this random box. All right, first thing we're going to do over on the side of our paper, let's figure out what m is. So we're counting out slope like what we've been doing. So here's my triangle. I'm going up, I'm going over, and now we're counting boxes. So 1, 2, 3, I went up 3 boxes. 1 box to the right would be a positive 1. My slope, I went up 3 and over 1 to the right. We know how to find slope. Oh, and if we look at this line, hey, this line is going up from left to right. This has a positive slope. Good thing we got a positive slope over here. That's a good way to double check. Okay, so y equals mx plus b. My slope was 3 over 1 x. Now we need to find b. Where does this line this blue line cross the y-axis? At what value? Hopefully in your head, you're thinking -1. If you are, hey, that's our y-intercept. That's where it's crossing. Okay, so my equation, y equals 3/1x minus 1. This is our equation. We know the slope. We know the y-intercept. If you're ready for the next one, keep watching. If you're not, pause it, go back, watch what you need to watch. Okay, on this next graph, so we've got a point here, and you guys have a point directly through the graph up here. Okay, don't be afraid of writing out the equation. Just start with slope. If I connect these points, what are my numbers? So 1, 2, 3 boxes up. From here, 1, 2, 3 boxes over to the left. So that's going to be a negative. So my slope, my rise over my run is -3 over +3. Some of you might go ahead and simplify that to -1/1. And you know why that works? Because, hey, there's another point right here. If I connect these, I get +1, -1, same slope. So it doesn't matter which points you pick. When you simplify, we still end up with the same answer. That is a messed up looking triangle. Don't make fun of it for me, Hector. Okay, so we found the slope, y-intercept. Where does this graph cross the y-axis? Okay, here's my y-axis, but where does the blue line cross at? Right here is where we're crossing the y-intercept at. That's going to be a +2. So my equation, y equals mx plus b, m we found to be -3/3 or -1/1. I'm thinking a lot of you are probably going to leave it as -3/3. We always put an x after our slope. And then my y-intercept was a +2. Again, if you want to go simplified, smaller numbers, this is the same thing. Either answer will work. We've got a few more that we're going to practice writing the equation with. Okay. Again, guys, what's nice about this, at any time, if you need to pause it, ask questions. Okay. Otherwise, we'll keep going. So we're still writing out the equation. We're given this line. We want to write out what the equation is. Right off the bat, take a look at this. Is this answer going to have a positive slope or a negative slope? Hopefully you're thinking negative because we're going down from left to right. This is kind of like the giant slalom ski slope, I feel like, if you've been watching any of the Olympics, because it looks pretty steep. It's pretty up and down. Okay, but we should know right off the bat that we're going to have a negative slope. So let's just start by finding slope. M. I'm going to connect my points, Jonathan. Okay, draw that slope triangle for me. And we're just counting it out. So 1, 2, 3 boxes up is going to be positive. 1, 2 boxes to the left is going to be negative. Slope, we go up and down first. We always do y over x. Okay, so we had a +3 and a -2. Make sure you guys don't confuse my equal sign with any negative signs. Okay, so we've got the slope. Let's find the y-intercept because y equals mx plus b. So we found m. Now let's find b. Where is this blue line crossing the y-axis at what value? Right here at a +1. So we've got y equals m is 3, +3 over -2x plus 1 for my answer. Okay, we're finding slope, we're finding y-intercept. We're gonna try 2 more graphs and then a few tables. And then that's gonna be it for the notes today. Okay, we're finding equations, we're finding slope, we're finding the y-intercept, so we can write out what those equations are. Taking a look at 5. I think on 5, you guys don't have points drawn on your graph, on your notes. So let's figure out what would be a good place to put some points. So normally the y-intercept, guys, is always a good place to start. We need to find the y-intercept anyway, so use it. So right there, we go directly through the corner of a box. Right here, I'm not in the corner of a box. I'd be counting half a box. Here, I'd be counting half a box. Okay, trying to go up. I don't go up all the way. Over here, I don't go over all the way. Okay, if I go here, I'm in the corner. I can count a full box. So if you can't count the full box, then your point should not go there. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got my 2 points. Okay, so again, we've got a point here and we have a point here. So I'm going up. I'm going over to the left. And we're figuring out what our slope is. So I went up 1, 2, 3. That's going to be a positive 3. I went over 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. That's going to be negative. Okay, which matches my slope is going down from left to right. We always look from left to right. Okay, somebody's coming down the hill. So here's my slope. Y-intercept. Where is our line crossing the y-axis? Hey, we already talked about this because we used the y-intercept as one of our points. Okay, it's crossing the y-axis at 0. 0 is still a number, guys. We can use that. So I've got y equals mx plus b. We found m to be 3 over negative 4. X plus 0. Okay, I know we talked about this today with environmental club paper. So plus 0 is fine. Or Journey, you can just leave it off as 3 over negative 4x. Okay, plus 0 doesn't change anything. Put it, don't put it, completely up to you. We've got one last graph that we're going to look at. I believe your points are here and here. If you look at your paper. Okay, so remember, 2 lines to connect the points. We're going up, we're going over. Okay, I go up, I go over. These boxes are really small, but I went up 2, I went over to the right 2. So my slope, I've got positive 2 up, positive 2 for going to the right. I can simplify this if you are interested to 1 over 1. Y equals mx plus b. Let's go ahead and write what we already know. Okay, so we know that my slope is going to be 2 over 2. We always put an x after the slope. Y-intercept, where does that blue line cross the y-axis at? Okay, it's crossing right here at 0. So y equals 2 over 2x plus 0. Again, you do not have to put the 0. You can just leave it like this, or you could even just leave it as 1x if you wanted to simplify your 2 over 2. So you've got a lot of options for this last one.